Convention deals are being struck as the race for Connecticut governor heats up. Next on Face the State, Republican candidate David Walker. Can he break out of a huge pack of gubernatorial wannabes? And what do the youngest voters want? We'll talk with Gillian Reinhardt of Trinity College and Thomas Miano of the University of Connecticut, both reporters representing their school newspapers. Our flashback, 25 years ago this week, a day in the life of Governor Lowell Weicker. It's all straight ahead this Sunday morning, April 29th, 2018. From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning and welcome to Face the State on this Sunday morning. I'm Dennis House. The Republican State Convention is only 12 days away. Will there be an endorsed candidate? Well, with us today is one of the candidates, Dave Walker. He is 66 years old. He served as Comptroller General under Presidents Clinton and Bush, and he was a candidate for Lieutenant Governor in 2014. And Mr. Walker, welcome back to the program.
Great to be back with you, Dennis.
So what is your plan to walk into this convention? Because there are, what, 9 or 8 declared Republican candidates, correct?
I think we're probably going to have about 10 trying to go for the vie for the nomination at the convention. We've got 1 or 2 other people that are not going the convention route. They're going to try to petition to get on the ballot. It ought to be very interesting. I think this is the most that we've had in quite some time.
And you need 15% of those delegates to get
That's
on
correct.
The ballot for the August primary. Do you think you have them so
I believe that I will be one of 4 people that will come out of the convention. And the key is, there are 2 key numbers. One is 15% or more on any ballot, and the second is 50% plus 1 to get an endorsed candidate. I think it's highly questionable about whether or not we'll get an endorsed candidate this year because we have so many people competing. But I think we'll get 4 people to come out of the convention, and I'm confident I'll be one of those 4.
Who will the other 3 be?
Well, I'll let the people decide that.
Well, you must have some inklings.
Well, yes, I think Mark Boughton and Tim Herbst are clearly there, and then I've got an idea who the 4th is going to be, but I'd rather not say.
Could it be Erin Stewart, who named a running mate this week?
Not at this point. Okay, I think Erin Stewart obviously is a capable person. She's a different dimension. She has a bright political future. It's possible that she could be the 4th, but as of this moment, she's not in that position.
And she chose a running mate this week. Is it something you think you'll be doing before the convention?
Not before the convention in all likelihood, although I think I'm likely to endorse somebody for lieutenant governor post-convention. To me, the only reason that you would think about endorsing somebody pre-convention is if you were having difficulty raising money, which we're not. We raise the money in record time, or if you believe that it would help you to get the endorsement of the party. Absent those 2 reasons, there's really no reason to do it before the convention, but it's something to seriously consider afterwards.
So while you're at the convention, there'll be all sorts of deals being made. Someone might come up to you and say, hey, listen, I'll run with you if you do this. Do you expect that to happen?
I expect there'll be a lot of deal making at the convention, and in part because there are a lot of people running, and in part because most of the people who are running are not in a position to get the 15%. We even have several people running who have raised enough money in order to qualify for public financing, but they're not in a position to get 15%. And the real question is, what, if anything, will they try to do to either go for another position or to try to be able to, cut some type of an understanding with people there.
As you mentioned, there are a couple of candidates who are not going to go the convention route. They're going to just try to get on the primary ballot through signatures and petitions. How successful do you think that they'll be?
There's only been 1 Republican for statewide office, to my knowledge, that's ever been successful, and that's Peter Schiff 8 years ago. And he spent about $225,000 in order to accomplish that. So somebody who's going for public financing is not in a position to have enough money to do it. Obviously, if you're a wealthy person, then you may have an ability to do it. You've got a limited period of time from May 1 to June 12th. And they all have to be gathered by Republicans, and only Republican signatures count.
The Democrats have fewer candidates than you do. They still have a lot, though. There could be a 4-way primary there as well. Do you think having a bigger field actually hurts the Republicans' chances of winning in the fall?
I think it makes it difficult for the delegates to decide who they're going to support. I think we're going to go into the convention with 20% plus undecided delegates. Competition is good, but when you get to where you've got 12, 13 people running, it makes it much more confusing for people. And that's why you don't have a clear front runner. And that's why there could be a real question as to whether or not we're going to have an endorsed candidate this year.
You know, a year ago you were in the program and you really painted a dour picture of Connecticut, saying that Governor Malloy had not done a very good job. A year later, where does it stand? Is the state in better shape or worse?
We're in worse shape. We're clearly heading in the wrong direction. When you have 60% plus of the people of the state of Connecticut, based on a recent poll, say that they're going to leave the state within the next 5 to 10 years unless major changes are made, obviously that's not a good sign. I don't believe it's too late to save our ship of state. But I clearly believe that this is the most important election in the history of the state. We're either going to continue the failed policies of the past, or we're going to recognize reality, elect a governor who's willing to tell the truth and make tough choices and create a better future.
In a field of so many candidates on the Republican side, how do you stand out? Do you need to have a bold idea? I know we had Steve Obsitnik on last week, who said he wants to franchise the DMV and have little kiosks and town halls, and Mark Boughton saying get rid of the income tax, and everyone's got a plan.
Well, here's the way I look at it, Dennis. You need to ask the people, and we've done that. We've done statistically valid polling as to what are they looking for in the next governor. They don't want a traditional politician because politicians have gotten us to where we are. They're not going to lead us to the promised land. They don't want somebody who's just got business experience and no government experience, because they understand that government is very different than business. And I've run organizations in all 3 sectors of the economy, so I can attest to that. And they want somebody who can put our state's finances in order. That's their #1 priority by a wide margin. They understand that if we don't do that, we're not going to be able to grow. We're not going to provide more opportunity, and things are going to get worse. And the good news is those criteria line up very well with my background. So my objective is to get to the primary, let the people decide. If I'm the Republican nominee, I'm confident that I will be the next governor with coattails.
On both parties, they have one woman each. You have Erin Stewart. The Democrats have Susan Bysiewicz. How important is it to be running with a woman as your running mate for lieutenant governor?
Well, I'm a big believer in diversity, and the portfolio has to be diverse. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a female lieutenant governor, but I want our team to be something that is diverse and representative of the state of Connecticut. I think you have to think about people based upon their qualifications. Are they in a position to be able to assume the governorship if something were to happen to the governor? And obviously, I would consider a woman. And we have, obviously a female candidate running for lieutenant governor right now. But in the end, that's correct, Jamie Stevenson from Darien, who's a very capable person, and we have other capable people running. But I'm committed to have a diverse team, which includes the cabinet, by the way.
If you are elected, you'll be taking over in about 7 months or so. What would you be trying to accomplish in your first 100 days in office to turn this state around?
Well, there's several things. There are certain things the governor can do unilaterally. There are certain things it takes legislation. You want to rescind executive orders that are undercutting our competitive posture, making it more costly for business and consumers. Secondly, you want to undertake a regulatory and unfunded mandate review, because we've clearly got to cut back on a lot of those. Thirdly, you want to take a review of the size and scope of government. We've got to be able to streamline and simplify government. And then I want to push legislation that will A, override the CBAC agreement, so that we can set those benefits legislatively, like most other states do, make a firm commitment to funds so that people can actually get the benefits that are promised. I want to be able to do something on taxes to try to be able to provide some tax relief to keep people in the state while we reform. And I want to move forward on trying to reform our welfare system, which is out of control. We need a solvent, sustainable, secure social safety net for people who are truly in need, but we don't want to be a magnet for welfare recipients, and we also don't want to create multi-generational dependency on the state, which is not good for anybody.
In the past month, Governor Malloy has nominated 30 people to be judges in the judicial system in our state. Hartford Courant, an editorial this week, said that's too many. We don't need them. There's no shortage of judges. We need other jobs in the judiciary filled. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. I mean, my understanding is that we don't need that many judges, and in fact, we don't have enough support for that many judges. I think one of the things that we need to do as a state, we need to do a lot more analysis of what we really need, what we can afford, and what we can sustain. And candidly, I hate to say it, but I think a lot of those are probably political favors.
So why is he filling those jobs, do you think?
Well, people that he knows would like one of those jobs, and I think the question is do we need it, and secondly, can we afford it, and can we sustain it? When you appoint a judge, you're not just being able to pay the salary of the judge. There are benefits associated with that are lifetime benefits. They have to have support staff. You have to have courtrooms. There are a number of different things. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. First, how many do we need? Then, who should be nominated?
You live in Bridgeport?
I do.
The people of Bridgeport, many of them want to have a casino, including the mayor there. It would involve sort of ripping up the compact you have with the two tribes in our state. What would you do if you were governor right now?
Well, my view is obviously you have to be able to deal with the tribes, but my view is that if we're going to have another casino in Connecticut, it ought to be in Bridgeport. And the reason it ought to be in Bridgeport is because you have access to I-95, to Metro North, to Amtrak, to the Long Island Ferry. We need more development in Bridgeport. You can't build an economy based upon gaming, but it could be a piece of a much bigger puzzle. And I think it's something that we do need to consider, and it is possible to achieve, but not under this governor.
David Walker, Republican candidate for governor, we thank you for being in the program today, and best of luck at the convention.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll see what millennials want in election 2018 with two local reporters for school newspapers. Something I used to do a long, long time ago, as a matter of fact. And we welcome you to watch past interviews of Face the State on WFSB.com or our YouTube channel.